Okay, so all those who are here, hi everyone. We'll be starting in another 5 minutes, and let's just wait for other people to join. So Ipshit, are we good to go for the session?
Yes, Ananya, we can begin.
Okay, so firstly, hi everyone. Glad to have all of you here for the session, and welcome to our initiative called Chat with Tissian 6.0, Do, Dare, and Dream. So I'll start with a brief introduction about myself first. Hi, I'm Ananya, and I hail from the city of Lucknow, and I did my graduation in BCom honors um, from Delhi University, and then I worked for a year at EY as an assurance associate, and I had an inclination to pursue MBA in HRM in human resource management specifically. And I was an aspirant last year like you, and then I made it to this college, TIS Mumbai, in the course Human Resource Management and Labor Relations. So I think Ipshit, you can go next with your introduction.
Hello, people. Good evening, everybody. I'm Ipshit. I have done my BTech in mechanical engineering. Thereafter, I pursued UPSC for a few years. I had public administration as my optional. Therefore, I had always a plan B in my mind, which was pursuing an MBA in HRM. And for that, I appeared for ZAT, SNAP, and TISS. I cleared these exams, but finally, I chose to join TISS. Yes, Ananya, you can continue.
Okay, so as you all know that the registration is out for TISNet, and a lot of you you will be aspiring to join TISS and give the TISSNet exam. So I'll just tell you briefly what we'll be covering in this webinar. So firstly, we'll be starting with telling you about what TISS is and what our pedagogy looks like, and what are the USPs of TISS, and if you aspire to TISS, then what will life will be once you join TISS. Next, we'll move to sharing with you our preparation strategy that we followed while preparing for TISSNet, and the things that helped us to qualify the paper. So Ipshit and I will be sharing, our tips regarding TISSNet. Following that, we'll have a Q&A session in which all of you feel free to ask your doubts regarding to TISSNet or college, or whatever doubt you have with respect to TISSNet as an exam, or the course HRM-LR. So I think when we start the session, if you encounter any doubts, you can type them in the chat box, and then towards the end we can take them all of them together. So it will be easier for both of us. And so okay, moving on to what this actually is. So as you all know that Tata Institute of Social Sciences was established in 1936 as Sir Dorabji Tata Graduate School of Social Work. And so you can see, the rich legacy that we have, that we began in 1936. Now, this is present across 4 cities, namely Mumbai, Tuljapur, Guwahati, and Hyderabad. And it offers roughly, 111 courses under its huge umbrella. So our course that we represent, Human Resource Management and Labor Relations, it is present at the Mumbai campus. In addition to that, we have the Sir Dorabji Tata Memorial Library with the best-in-class facilities and resources, and we can vouch that having gone through our first semester, the resources it has to offer and reading material that we refer to during our studies, it greatly helped us, although in an online mode, but it was a great resource for us. Coming on to the ratings that we have, so this was rated grade AAA with a score of 3.89 out of 4 by NAC in 2016. So this was all about, an introduction about the institution TISS. Moving on to our course TISS, HRM, and LR. So I belong to this course, Human Resource Management and Labor Relations. Now, one thing very unique about this course is that now I think all B schools in India, are greatly known of producing business leaders. Now, one great thing about this is that not just here, our curriculum prepares us into effective business leaders, but it grooms us into socially sensitive leaders. So, in the kind of world that we are living in right now, when all of us, if you aspire to become a human resource manager, it's extremely important to understand the society and, understand diverse people. They come from diverse backgrounds, they have diverse perspectives. So, that kind of education is what that TISS provides you. That it not only grooms you into professionally competent leaders, but we have a curriculum which makes you socially aware and socially very sensitive to all, organizational issues, etc. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so I'll tell you about some of the unique USPs of TISS in detail in the next slide. Now, describing about, what the other things that make or, segregate TISS from, you have other institutes also there. So one of the very important things is that there is a lot of focus on hands-on learning with a special focus on EBM. Now, EBM is evidence-based management. So starting from the foundation course. Now, in our first semester, we have this foundation course. So what happens is that we study courses under these 2 broad topics, namely the development challenges of India and the ideas of India. Now, the unique thing about this course is that when you actually study these courses, you understand what's happening in the society, and it broadens your perspective. You get to understand many many socioeconomic realities which are not aware otherwise. So it prepares you for a better. It prepares you to not only conquer the business world in a better manner, but you are equipped enough to know these social realities, to understand people better in a way that you can actually become effective business leaders. Now, I'll talk about the fieldwork system that we have as part of our curriculum. Now, one thing that greatly attracted me to TISS when I was an aspirant was the fieldwork that we have here. Now, at this course, what we have is that for every semester, you get to do a fieldwork internship in organization. So we have 2 kinds of fieldwork. One is the block fieldwork and one is the concurrent fieldwork. Now, what happens in the block fieldwork is that for the 5 months, you attend regular classes. And for the 6 months, you actually go to an organization and do a 1-month full internship. And it's a great way to actually apply your learning that you've been learning throughout the semester in a practical manner in the organization. So, since I'm in my first semester and I had classes for the 5th semester, and now I'm interning in an organization. So I found it a great platform where I could use all my theoretical learnings and, apply them in a real time in a practically organization and see that how are these learnings being translated into in an organizational respect, and how am I able to apply this in real organization. So imagine that once you graduate in 2 years, you actually have experience in 5 different organizations, because I think every B school out there offers a summer internship post your first year. But in this, what happens is that since you're interning in an organization in every semester, once you graduate from here after 2 years, you actually have experience in 5 different organizations, a practical experience in 5 different organizations. And our faculty, allocates these organizations in a way to ensure that we get to work in a different industry in every semester. So, that helps us to understand the HR domain and its challenges in different sectors. And it greatly strengthens our theoretical learning and prepares us better to actually, when we enter the corporate world officially after our placements in our 2 years. So by that time, you have practical experience in 5 different organizations. So you can imagine the amount of practical experience you already have once you officially enter the corporate world post your graduation. So this was about the fieldwork that we have. Another aspect is that the dissertation that we have in our curriculum. So as you all know that this is a research-based curriculum, and it gives us the liberty to deep dive and perform a research on a topic, a topic of our choice. And this topic not necessarily has to be, under the management school. You can take up topic of any interest under any school, and you will have a seasoned faculty who's expert in that topic, and you can perform a research with the help of that professor. So for example, if someone who has an inclination for mental health, so you can take that topic and perform a research around that. Moving on to another USP is that we also have a rural immersion and an NGO stint, which takes place in the last semester, and it's a 2-week program. So here you actually do these NGO visits, and you get to perform projects. And that way it greatly enhances your understanding of the rural areas. And if you take up plant roles in future, so that way you're much more equipped to understand people in a better manner and to understand how things function on the ground level. So another very important USP of that is the international exchange program that we have. So we have a dedicated international relations office at our campus, and people all across the world come to TISS for studying various courses. Similarly, at TISS, you get a chance to go to foreign universities and study your course there. So that way, it's a very, I think, you get the global exposure that I think most of you must be aspiring at this point of time in your MBA. And one thing which is important in this is that you need to have a GMAT score to be able to, to be eligible for applying for this international exchange program. And for detail, I think we can anyway talk about more on this once you clear TISSNet and you really aspire to join TISS. All right, so I've told you about the pedagogy that we have. So opportunities at TISS. I'm sure all of you have heard about this, that at B schools you take part in various case study competitions, and you have case study competitions which are hosted by big brand organizations, and even you have colleges coming up with these competitions. So at this, you get an opportunity to participate in a wide variety of case study competitions. Almost all big brands, they open up their competitions for TISS because these brands also have a very selective colleges that they go to. But I've seen personally that TISS is eligible for all these big brand competitions, and they come to our campus. And not only do we participate here, but we've had a record of bringing laurels to our college and winning these competitions by being the campus winners or being the national winners in all these competitions. So I've just added 4 competitions here, but but there are like many competitions. If you visit our Instagram handle, we keep putting posters on a weekly basis about the various competitions that we keep on winning in terms of the case study competitions. So these are some of our fieldwork organizations. So like I just mentioned that at TIFF you get an opportunity to intern in every semester. It's part of your curriculum. So these internships actually happen in top-notch organizations. You can already see on my screen, we have Unilever, we have ITC, we have RPG, there's Mondelez, there's ABG, there's Nestle. So so imagine that that all these internships that you get to be a part of once you graduate from this course, you have these big brands on your CV, like 5 really big brands in your CV once you graduate from here. Okay, so I'll also make you go through the placement stats. I'm sure all of you must be curious about the placement stats itself. So remember that we have a very small batch size. This has a batch size of 68 people. So we already have 36 recruiters, coming that come on our campus, that came on our campus for 2021 placement drive, and there were 22 PPOs offered. The highest CTC for that year was 29.32 LPA. The median CTC was 19.89, and the average CTC was 19.62. Now, one thing please notice that there is not much difference between the median CTC and average. It's almost the same, which shows that that roughly all of us get there's not much difference between the lowest and the highest package, and people graduate with similar kind of good placements. So moving on to our summer placements that just happened for the batch of 2023. So the highest stipend was 3,30,300. The median stipend was roughly 2,40,000, and the average stipend was 2,34,861. And we had 38 recruiters coming on board for our summer placements. Here again, please notice the marginal difference between the average stipend and the median stipend, which I think if in general you go through the placement reports of other colleges, I'm sure you see this because it actually gives you the real reality. And you can clearly see the marginal difference that we have had for the average stipend and the median stipend. So these are some of our final placement recruiters that come on board. And I don't think I need to elaborate upon the stature of these organizations. They are very well recruited. I'm sure at this point of time, many of you already aspire to be in these firms. And we have all of them coming here at our campus. You can all see my screen. We have Unilever, Accenture, there's ITC, there's Colgate-Palmolive, there's ABG, there's TAS, and there's Mahindra, there's Reckitt, there's Asian Paints. So this is not at all an exhaustive list of all our recruiters. We have many other organizations that come on board, but it will give you an idea about the placement that we have. Anyway, I think the small batch size that we have and the strong curriculum that we have, the placements is not just the only thing that people come here for, because it's not the only highlight that we have here. The other aspects of this are actually drive people to actually join this course and the institute. Okay, so coming to the next slide, which talks about our rich alumni network. So we all have this tendency to make judgments about institute, about the alums and what sort of positions they are at and what kind of mark they are making in the industry. And trust me when I say this, that if you see big organizations and the people who are heading the human resource vertical or the the CHRO, etc., many a time you will find that these people actually hail from this HRMLR course from TIFF Mumbai. And we have a rich alumni network who's present across diverse organizations. And the best part is that they often visit campus for various industry visits. And the ALCOM in our the one of the societies in our college ensures that there's a regular connect between the students and the alums, so that we can leverage the advantage of our alums, and they keep supporting us throughout our journey. We have various events being hosted to keep them in loop, and they're very approachable in terms of helping us in our summers or through our projects anytime if we require their help. And that is one advantage that you have in terms of the batch size, because we're able to build really close connection with our seniors, with our batchmates, because we are just 68 in number. So, year on year, the batches that you have here, they build very close connections, not just with your batchmates, but seniors and alums, keeping all of them together. So I think this is the part where all of you have been awaiting, as in, the selection procedure to get into the course and about the guidance for the exam TISNET. So Ipshit will be taking from here to explain you about the TISNET pattern, and we will go in detail about each section to be able to help you strategize better. So yeah, Ipshit, you can take it on from here.
Thank you, Ananya. So thank you very much. You have wonderfully introduced everything about TISS, and I just wish to add on one thing. Like all our alums say this to us whenever they come to talk, whenever they come to us in any talk, that once you come into TISS, once you go through this 2 years of TISS, you'll remember TISS throughout your life, and it will add immense value to your own personality as well as in terms of business skills. So yes, let's begin with like how will you guys get in here, and I hope you have taken a note of each and everything Ananya mentioned, because it will help you during your interviews. Yes, so TISNET will happen on 26 February 2022, and remind that date because I will be telling you something in the GK section where this date is important. And then the stage 2 has not yet been announced. I cannot officially comment anything like what will stage 2 be like, but based on previous experiences, it will either be a TISMAT, or if it isn't a TISMAT due to some COVID situation, then there will be some online assessment, including the personal interviews. And after that, a final merit list will be created. And bear in mind that your TISNET scores will be counted in the final merit list. So my suggestion would be give your best at preparing for TISNET. It will also help you in getting through the stage 2 as well. Next slide, please, Ananya. Yes, so if you can go through the timeline, like 7th Feb, just about a month from now, is the deadline to apply. 12 to 13 Feb is the orientation for reserved category students. Then you have the hall ticket download between 14th and 21st of February. The exam will be held between 2 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. on Saturday, 26 February. Yes, Ananya, please, next. Okay, so this is the pattern. Like it will be 100 minutes paper and no breaks in between. 100 minutes paper, 100 questions, 100 marks. 1 mark for each question and no negative marking. Yes, next slide. Okay, so the structure of the exam is like 40 questions for general awareness, 30 questions for English, and maths and logical reasoning. So maths and logical reasoning will be one section. And if you noticed, I said general awareness first because I would suggest that this is the order in which you should attempt the paper, like first general awareness, and then depending upon your strength, either English or mathematics. Now, one by one, we'll go with the strategy part of the exam. Bear in mind that there's no negative marking and there will be like MCQs for each and every question. Next slide, Anya. Okay, so the general awareness part, we'll divide the preparation part into two parts. One is the current affairs section, the other is the static section. So for the current affairs section, I'll be mentioning a few topics. I'd like it will be great if you can note down the topics, because then your preparation will be much more focused. Otherwise, general awareness is a very wide topic, and I'd request you not to go into UPSC books. They are not needed. If you just stay with basic current affairs material, which are given by several coaching institutes, which are giving coachings for certain banking exams, especially RBI grade B and other exams, where like one-liner GK comes. That kind of GK actually helps as far as current affairs is concerned. So I'll be mentioning the topics. You can cover all the national events. So whenever you go to any monthly booklet of these coaching institutes, the topics are mentioned there. And once you are reading through any topics, just highlight the things. And once you are done with like 1 month's GK, you have to do full years of current affairs, and month by month go and do it. And every time you complete with the GK of 1 month, just make your own short notes, because like the entire PDF runs through hundreds of pages. Like 1 month PDF, if you take off some coaching issue, it will be like 100-150 pages. How will you revise that much amount of pages, 100 into 12, just before your exam? Not possible, right? So while reading, just highlight whatever important things you find and then make a word note in short, like whatever possible one-liner questions you are expecting from those topics. So the topics are like national events, international events, especially relating to labor, because we are appearing for an HRM course, national and international events relating to labor. Then you can go through corporate events, awards, also new appointments, important appointments, especially if they are TES alums, or any HR people appointed as CEOs, so you should know them. Then any awards in the entertainment industry, any awards of national or international significance, or any awards in the art and culture field. Uh, then you should also know the Bharat Ratna awardees and Padma Vibhushan awardees, not Padma Bhushan, but just Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan. These two awards are crucial. Then, yes, Arjun, I'm coming to the quant part. Please be patient. Okay, so next you can cover like social and environmental issues. See, social and environmental issues, for a general awareness paper, the data part is a bit important. For example, for social issues, you should know what is the gross enrollment ratio. Then you should know like what is the mortality rate, what is the infant mortality rate, and likewise. So some basic facts and figures relating to the social sector that you should be aware of. Yeah. Yes, Ishanvi, I will come to your question in the Q&A part. And next, you can also cover like social and environmental. For environmental, any new national parks, any new national sanctuaries, any new treaties signed in the previous 5 years are of extreme importance. Bear that in mind, extreme importance. Environment is like, this thing is happening since the Stockholm conference, and it runs 1970s. Say there's a lot of environment GK being created. You need not go into all those things. Just for last 5 years, if you can get a hold of whatever has happened in the environment sphere in the last 5 years, and the best way to go about it is get hold of some static GK book. Any good, you might be aware of some of the names. So any good strategy book, take it and do the recent developments in the environment part, and apart from the current affairs. So don't go too much into environment. Then for the static part in like politics, no, yes, I was talking about current, yeah. For this current part in economics, finance, yes, this is why I said the date of 26 February is very important, because see, your economic survey and your budget comes in the end of January, and it is a very like opportune time for the examiner to ask you questions like just 1 month from the survey and the budget to ask questions on those topics. So if you have seen the economic survey, it is a huge document, not possible to go through the entire document. Just go to any UPSC related website, just download the economic survey summary, and they also give economic survey highlights. So highlight is a shorter version, summary is still runs into around 150-200 pages. So just download the highlights. It will be around 10 to 15 pages. Just go through those highlights, that will suffice. And for budget, similarly, you need not go through the budget highlights, just go through budget overview. Just get a hold of some of the important figures in the budget and the budget theme, all those things which can be asked in a one-liner question. Yes, so that's it about the current part. So your focus should be on national, international events, awards. So these are the two things. And also like social sector, again, only figures or any recent, you'll get to know when you go through those docs. Now they are well categorized. Any banking awareness docs, they are well categorized. You'll get to know. Just keep making notes on the Word file. Yes, so coming to the static part. So static part, the most important is you should know the basics of constitution. Which chapters? Okay, so fundamental rights you should know. You should know directive principles of state policy. See, when I say these things, you should know that right to life is Article 21. So that is the kind of questions they ask in one-liners. So like article number match to the fundamental right. You should know this. And also in reverse order, like what is Article 21? What does it talk about? So what is Article 19, right? What is Article 14? So you should know like this, and also go through the preamble, the fundamental rights part, preamble, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, and also go through that chapter where you find the sources of our constitution. What part of our constitution is derived from the French, what from the British, what from the American, what from the Japanese, Canadian, Australian, and likewise. So these are some of the topics you can cover. Constitution is huge. Just focus on three, four topics that will do the job for you. And then for the history part, there are certain sections you need to focus on. One is around events happening around 1857. Then other is events happening around 1880s, between 1880s to 1920s, where all those social reform movements were happening. So you should get some hold. Just don't go into specific history books. Just do these things from the static GK books, okay? And so these things will suffice. Apart from that, this I was talking about Indian history. For international history, you can go through French Revolution and American Revolution. Apart from that, you can go through the history of ILO, when it was formed, why it was formed, just basic things. Then coming to economics, yes. So economics, you should know like what GDP is, what does it signify, what is the difference between GDP and GNP. So these basic things you'll get from NCERT books, so you can refer those books. And just basics of microeconomics, like what is elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply. Don't go deep into economics, just basics of economics, all from NCERT, nothing else. And yes, those are the major static GK topics that you need to cover. And in geography, you can do rivers, places, and sometimes like they ask, this is the capital of which country. So especially it might even be a Caribbean country. So there you have to, like, you cannot do all those countries and capitals in a short span of time. So in geography, just do the places, whatever you can cover. You see, GK is very vast, and you don't think like you can do all the geography, rivers, mountains, plateaus, all these things. But whatever is given there in your static GK book, just try to cover as much as possible from that part. No need to do anything on geography on the current part. Just do the static GK part on geography. So I think that is it. Ananya, any other part left in the GK section you can think of?
I think Ipshit, you've comprehensively covered this part. One thing I'd like to add is that you can't cover everything that is out there, but make sure that that you do get a basic understanding of increase it in terms of the breadth that is there, and also ensure that that you use the elimination method, because a lot of time when you prepare so much and you read so much, you kind of understand what options are out of context here. You might not able to get the exact answer, remember the exact answer of that question, but elimination also helps to understand that okay, this answer is out of context in terms of this question, because you've been reading a lot. So practice elimination also in terms of this section, which I will recommend. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Ananya, that's right. And I would like to reiterate that I saw somebody mentioned some names of books in the chat section. No, we are not supposed to take names of any books, but in general, what I would say, don't go for UPSC specific books, be it for geography, be it for constitution, be it for art and culture or anything. You don't need to go through UPSC specific books. Just take one book of static GK, which is good, which is popular. Just go through that book thoroughly. Believe me, with other things to do, you'll not be able to complete even that one book. If you go after 10 books thinking only UPSC people crack this, that's not true. So don't waste your time. Just take one book and do it thoroughly. So Ananya, we can move to the next section in English.
Yeah.
Which English?
So okay, no, let's just also make them aware about the cut. Yes.
Okay, so one more thing, like we have sectional cutoffs only for GK. So as I told you, there are 3 sections: one English, the other maths and logical reasoning, and the third is GK. So there's no such sectional cutoff in maths and LR as well as in English, but there is a sectional cutoff for the GK section, which is for general category. It is 35% or 14 marks. For OBC and PWD, it is 30% or 12 marks. And there is no sectional cutoff for GK for SC and ST category students. I hope that is pretty much clear. Ananya, we can move to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yes. So coming to English, English, I would suggest, see, I am talking from the point of view of a person who is just average in English. So that will cover both the profession people and who are not so good at English. So the best way to attempt the English paper is like you should first do the one-liners and where your accuracy is high. Don't go for passages. Tell you some topic, you can note down those topics. Don't do these topics first up. Don't do these topics first up. Like these are sentence correction topics, strengthening and weakening of arguments, assumption and supporting statements, inference-based questions, passage-based questions, main idea, author's point of view, anywhere where any question where you need to do some kind of analytical thinking. Don't go for these questions because you might get them wrong and then you'll also end up wasting time. So better to do questions like word substitution, grammar correction, fill in the blanks, homophones, idioms, meanings, spellings, these kind of small questions. Do these questions first. Then once you are done with those questions, then I'll come to the timing part later on. Once you are done with those questions, then do these passage based questions. And passage based questions, again, like you must be solving a lot of passage based questions for your CAT preparation. So the difficulty level is around moderate only. So don't worry, the questions are of similar type and the difficulty level is moderate and they are easily solvable. So the basic, the pattern of the paper is similar to the CAT exam. The questions asked are similar, but the difficulty level is slightly less because it is a time crunch based exam. So difficulty level is definitely at easy to moderate level. So they are very much solvable. Just keep in mind that don't waste your time in solving passage based questions first. Keep them for the last. That is my advice. Rest your judgment. Ananya, we can move to the next. Yes. So for the mathematics part, certain topics are common with CAT exam and certain topics are not. I am mentioning the topics which are special for TISNET and where especially you should note down these topics because these are low hanging fruits and they will, some of these questions like you don't even need to use your pen, you can just solve them by seeing. So these questions belong to statistics and logarithms. So just revise the basics of statistics and logarithms. It will help you a lot. So 1 to 2, you can expect like 1 to 2 questions from stats and around 1 to 2 questions from logs. Then you should also do clocks and calendars from the LR part. And rest probability, profit and loss, averages, basic geometry, ratio and proportion, percentages, speed and time, number system. All this is common to CAT and the difficulty level is less than CAT exam. It is easy to moderate. And one more thing I would like to say, like for number series, every year around 4 questions are from number series. Now, depending on your luck, you might crack it, the number series or not. And don't take it on your ego. It is normal if you're not able to solve the number series. Keep them for the last. Otherwise, they will end up wasting a lot of time. Then for the LR part, you'll be having logical connectivity, family arrangement, linear circular arrangement, Venn diagrams, puzzles, series, alphabet series you'll be having. And for the DI part, there will be some basic graph-based questions, maybe bar graphs, pie chart, double pie chart, and like that. But again, the difficulty level is like it should be for a 100-question paper to be solved in 100 minutes. So that you can expect accordingly. Ananya, we can move on to the next slide.
Yeah, so I'll just add something in addition to what Ipshit mentioned. I think it's also important that you practice a wide variety of questions and you're not really focus on practicing very advanced level of each topic. So keep it more general and include a wide variety of questions when you practice. Also, when you start giving mocks, start identifying your which are your strength topics or your weak topics, and make sure that you leverage upon your strength topics, because it's a time bound paper and you have 100 questions, 100 minutes. So that it's very important that you identify your strength part, and you start hitting those questions first which you feel that these are my strength topics, because the questions are easy to a moderate level. So yeah, that is just one thing I wanted to add here. So let's move on to the next part.
Yes, so general tips for the exam, and here I'd like to share the strategy regarding time management. So it is a 100 minutes long paper and you have 40 questions for GK. I would suggest do them in less than 15 minutes, ideally 10 to 12 minutes. So you have 85 minutes left for your English and mathematics. I started with English because I can do it really quick. So that was the reason. So mind it, if you can do maths quick, start with maths first. I'm talking between maths and English. GK has to be the first. It has to be the first. Don't try with GK. It will give you confidence when you have 85 minutes left and you just have 60 questions to solve. So psychologically that helps in the exam environment. So take my word for it. Do not experiment with this strategy. Just do GK as the first section. Do not try with this. So you can try with between English and maths, whichever you prefer. I did English first, and like you can take the 85 minutes are left, so you can divide like 30 around 40-45% of the time, remaining time you can give to English depending upon the difficulty level, and remaining to maths. So like fairly divide it, like not less than 40% to English. And because if you try to be too quick in English, you might make errors in passage based questions. And maths, don't think like maths will take a lot of time. It is doable in that limited time. Even if you give like 60% of 85 minutes to mathematics, it is very well doable. Also, regarding the attempt strategy, I would like to say that don't do like after you finish your GK, then the attempt strategy begins, where you are doing the easy questions first, but don't jump sections between easy questions. If you are doing English first do all the easy of English, then do all the moderate of English. Don't jump to easy of maths, because what I have experienced, like when you jump sections, the frame of mind changes and your efficiency drops. So better when that frame of mind is like solving English questions, complete that section, whatever you can do. If you want to leave some questions, like 2, 3, 4 questions you want to leave for the end, leave them, and just like 5 minutes before the exam time ends, you can just come back to those questions and try them once again. That is for the difficult ones I'm talking about. Then you go to the remaining section of be it English or maths, and similarly you can attempt that section. Like, but do the easy moderate thing section wise. Don't jump sections. So pura ek baar mein, like one section at a time you have to do it. Okay, Ananya, want to add anything else?
Yeah, so I think having mentioned about our strategy, there's no one strategy that fits all. So it's not like that, that following everything will actually, help you ace your exam. So you need to give mocks and practice and identify, how, like what approach helps you in a better manner. And you have to customize it and tailor it according to what helps you ace the exam. So this might be our suggestions, how we approached it, but keep in mind that that you need to improvise and understand what works well with your strategy, and that way formulate a plan around how you want to approach the paper. And I think one thing, I don't know if we mentioned or we missed out, that that reading newspapers is very, very essential, because it prepares you in a twofold manner. Number one is that you definitely get acquainted with the current affairs part better, and you're able to keep up with the general awareness part. In addition to that, it also helps you greatly in your global ability section, because it betters your capability to read and comprehend passages better, and it also helps you to improve your vocabulary. So when you go through newspapers and you read them, so and you encounter words which you are not able to get the meaning instantly, do make an effort to go back and check up on the meaning. So in that way, I think it's a threefold advantage, that you're being prepared, you're being better prepared for your general awareness. You're able to enhance your skill for reading comprehension. Also, you're able to improve your vocabulary in that sense, because you encounter new words, and if you're making this effort to go back and find their meaning, so you do not really have to put any additional effort to strengthen your vocabulary. So this greatly helps in the questions which revolve around, synonyms, antonyms, and idioms. So and you will find plenty of these mix in your TISNET exam. So that is one tip in general that I have for you with respect to TISNET. And
Yes,
other than
yes,
that, time management is very, very essential, and I can't emphasize more on that because you need to be very thorough about that you're covering each section effectively. And there is everybody who attends TISNET, should have the target of uh, marking all the answers, because even if you're not sure about the answer, there is no harm in marking, because there is absolutely no negative marking. So you do not have to miss out on any question just because you feel that you're not you do not know the answer, because even hit and trial has no disadvantage here, because there is absolutely no negative marking. So yeah, this is pretty much I have to say for general tips for the exam in preparation.
yes. One more thing I wanted to add, at this stage you must be thinking like you need to improve on certain concepts which you missed on for your CAT exam, and you need to brush them up. My suggestion would be, if you are going for any speed based exam like TISNET or other exams which are purely speed based, then more than your concepts, is what is important is your confidence. So whatever you know, rather than trying to go and learn new things or improve things which you could not improve in the last 1 year, my suggestion would be, whatever you know, try to improve your confidence level on those topics. Especially I'm talking this for the maths, LR and English part. So try to give more mocks and help your confidence level in terms of improving the accuracy of your answers. So that is very, very important. If you are not accurate, there are high chances that you will miss the cutoff, because cutoff every year varies depending upon the difficulty level of the question paper. But if you are confident enough, you will surely make it to the test above the testnet cutoff. So confidence is a very key factor, and people people tend to get jittery in speed based exams. So that should not happen. Like, you know the concept, and then you are not able to solve it because of time crunch. So this happens because you have not practiced it enough. You know the concept, but because you have not practiced it, so it becomes difficult in time crunch situations. So my suggestion would be, give as many mocks as possible, and with a rider that 1 week before the exam, don't burden yourself with too many mocks. Itna be whatever mocks you have to give, finish them off 1 week before the exams. Keep calm and cool, like around 1 week before the 26th February. Yes, that's it. We can go on to Q&A.
Just a second. So okay, so I think all of you will have, subsequent queries post even our session. So you should definitely follow us on our social media handles. We are very active on our social media handles, and we keep answering queries and addressing doubts on our social media handles. So we've attached the links of all of these, all of our handles. Also, we have an initiative going on currently, which is known as Quiztopia, and wherein we post 6 questions daily from our official Facebook handle, and which comprises of 2 questions from the math section, 2 questions from the English section, and 2 questions from the GK section. So I think all of you should follow our official Facebook page, which wherein we post the Quiztopia on everyday basis, and keep following us on our other handles if if you want to keep updated with respect to the subsequent stages, and you have any other doubts that you want to get clarified in terms of post the session. So yeah, I think now we're open to the Q&A session.
Somebody asked about where they can find the previous year question papers of testnet. I guess that's not available.
Yeah, so there's no official source where you will find all the previous year papers, but there are numerous sites where you can get the previous year papers, and there are also memory-based papers available. So you can refer to them, because officially we don't have the paper on our website.
Yes, Dravat, I hope I'm pronouncing your name rightly. We don't have previous year papers, but I would suggest you can attempt the bank PO and RBI mocks. They might help you.
Okay, so somebody has asked to reshare the last slide wherein we have our all our handles mentioned. So I'll just do that again. So everyone who wants to take a screenshot of that site, please feel free to do so. This one.
Yes, so people are asking about a decent score. Decent score would be just if because you're asking, I am saying it will be above 75 based on previous year experiences. But again, see, if the difficulty level is increased, it might even fall to 65. And if the paper comes easy, it may go above 80. So there you have your range.
Yes, so there are a lot of questions around the overall cutoff. So the cutoff changes every year, and I think when you give mocks, you should practice a score around somewhere between 70 to 75 because that's how the cutoff has been ranging for the past few years. So I think if you're able to get such score in your mock, so I think you're decently prepared for the exam because more or less the cutoff is in this range as per past trends.
People want to know more about field works. Can you elaborate a bit?
I think I covered them in detail in our. I'll just see if there are any specific questions around the fieldwork.
Akshat, nothing specific has been communicated by test office about TISMAT or stage 2. Once they post something, some official update, the ARC will definitely notify on its official handles. I hope you must have taken a note, the screenshot of those handles.
There's a question, how can I tackle the quant section? So Arjun, if you are a CAT aspirant, we believe, so we hope that you've been practicing, quants in general, and you will find the level of to be an easy to moderate level if you see the previous year paper or papers available online. Otherwise, if you're someone who's starting from the scratch, then uh, please go through all there are topics mentioned on the website, and I think Ipshit just mentioned about all those topics that you need to cover. So try and practice not practicing the advanced questions of the same, but practicing the easy and the moderate questions of the same, and doing a wide variety of topics and questions. So I think that is how you can go about for the quant section from the scratch if you're planning to.
Yes, for going from scratch from the quant section, it is better to start with arithmetic topics and easy ones. You can start with those topics.
There are some questions around which is one of the best mocks for TISNET apart from previous past 5-year papers. So we can't say that there's any one site that that is able to replicate properly the TISNET exam. So you can refer to multiple sources, and that is not just about mocks basically help you to be better with time management, identify your strengths better, your weaknesses better. Do not really consider those questions as a blueprint to what you will get in the exam. So see the bigger picture behind doing mocks and taking them up. And with respect to the question around that how many mocks did I took up while my preparation. So I took around 5 to 6 mocks for the TISNET exam before giving my exam. So, but it totally depends upon the number of mocks that you deem fit for your preparation. So I can't really vouch either on the best site for TISNET mocks or the number of mocks which will be perfect before the TISNET exam. So that is something which is that is subjective to person to person.
Yes, for the mocks, what I would suggest is rather than taking any specific TISNET specific mocks, I would suggest just go for the past year papers of some exams which are speed based and which have similar course content. So those things will help you more.
There's one question around if you can get the recording of this session. So yes, this session is being recorded, and you can contact Time. They will provide you with the recording of the session later on. So do not really worry about that. The people who've missed any part of this session, because the session is being recorded.
There are many questions around books for polity, books for history and geography. Again, I would say if you take these many books, you won't get time to prepare your maths and English. And if you think you have done sufficiently well in CAT and your maths and English are perfect, even then, if you take those books, it won't give you the return you are expecting from these books, because they are very wide and you'll not be able to remember that much of content. What I would suggest, do less, do well. So take one book, do it thoroughly.
There are questions around our batchmates, whether they are from the experienced background or a fresher. So reiterating on the fact that that TISS celebrates diversity, and we in our batch, we have a mix of both freshers, people with work experience ranging, from various years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or even more than that. So there is no one profile which is, very considered very right for TISS, for TISS. And so not really, so if you have any apprehension with respect to your background or your work ex or your drop year, so that is, you should completely shut that off. And because you are not evaluated on that in any manner, so right now the key is to actually focus on your TISSNet exam properly, clear the cutoff, and probably then you will have details about the subsequent stage, whether it's a TISS, whether it's a TISSMAT, or you have other assessment procedure, like we had an extempore last time, so you will be updated on that. So right now your focus should only and only be on preparing well for your TISSNet.
Is there's a question like, is international relations important for TISSNet? Yes, I would not say international relations is important because you're talking in UPSC language. I would say any news which is of significance for India, or for significance for the which is of significance for the world, is important from a current affairs point of view. I have told you the sources from where you need to cover these things. And specifically for your question, I would say, for example, yes, it is important. I'll give you a sample. Like, what is Raisina dialogue? You should know what these things are, where it happens. So these are basic things, like it is everywhere. If you are reading with newspapers, you should know these basic things. So very basics of whatever international affairs, I would say.
So there's a question about regarding weightage for topics for arithmetic, number system, geometry. So there is no specific weightage for any for the categories of the math section. Once you have a look at the previous year papers, at least 3 to 4 years, you will get an idea about the number of questions that roughly come from each topic, and you have to strategize accordingly, because officially there is no specific weightage for any specific topic in the exam. And with respect to data interpretation, you can expect around not more than 2 to 3 sets in the TISSNet exam. And these sets are of a very easy to moderate level only. And a lot many times you can actually, like if you're someone who's, who's been practicing well, you can crack them without even using the pen and paper. So yeah.
Yes, Sonali has asked this question. She wants me to repeat the quant part. Sonali, I'll give you the basics, like what I had said in that section. So what I said was, like, you should focus on arithmetic part more than algebra. And I also said, like, there are certain topics from where easy questions are asked. So these topics include trigonometry, logarithms, and statistics. Geometry, very few questions. So that way you can plan your preparation. Focus on arithmetic more and the few topics I mentioned. You can, like, if you want to leave a topic, I would say geometry would be the first one, but still I don't suggest you leave any topic, but there are very few questions from geometry.
There's one question: should one go through all the maths questions before starting to solve them? In my personal opinion, no, because there's not much time that you will actually get to scroll through all to have a look at all the questions and decide, because they are actually of an easy to moderate level. So if you're not able to do it, you should ideally skip them and move ahead. And because that planning part that you have to do in other exams wherein you have so much time to select the right question, it's not the case in TISSNet. So you have to be very instant with, reading them and solving them in real time.
Acha, Shan has asked this question regarding like days we have to remember, like biodiesel day, environment day. Like the year in which I attempted testnet, something interesting happened. Like the day they asked was like uh, a month after the exam day. So yes, days are important. What you can do is like in the same current affairs booklet which you will get from any coaching institute, they have a separate category of important days. So there you make your own list, like probability of these days being asked. See, mostly days related to environment are important, days related to social sector are important. So just get a hold on, like like you can guess when you get four options, you can make a guess like ye hoga. So that way you should go for days, because if you want to memorize you can, but it will take a lot of time. So it is better to go like have the elimination strategy for days.
The question with respect to will the pre-admission orientation for reserved category take place online? So we will be updating on that information soon, and I think it will most probably be online because of the developing situation because of COVID. So you can expect it to be in a virtual mode.
Bharat Kumar, yes, you are right.
The question again, that when should one start giving the mocks? I think this is the one thing which we can't really, comment upon a specific timeline that any ideal time. Once you feel that you have, covered your syllabus holistically, and now you want to get an idea whether you're able to, really, make use of that knowledge, and you're able to uh, get a hold of the paper and the pattern. So that way, I think that is the right time to start with your mocks. Ipsit, I hope my screen is visible right now because I'm reading the question simultaneously.
Yes, the links screen is visible.
Great, thank you.
Yes, Sonali Jaina is asking about other good courses in TIS. Sonali, we cannot comment on other courses. All the courses in TISS are top notch, and it all depends on your interest.
Yeah, and then it no, your gap years is not considered a taboo at all in your selection. Like I just mentioned previously, there is no, there's no profile which is, unappreciated at this, and there will be apprehensions around that. So do not really worry about your previous profile.
Yes, and Ananya is absolutely right on that. I know a lot of UPSC aspirants have this worry, like I have this many years of gap, will it affect my selection in the HRM course? So just be free. Your gap years have do not have even an iota of effect on your selection. So just be free. We'll have more sessions before the interview. We'll get an idea on how to deal the interview stage. So for now, just give your best for testnet. That is what I would suggest, because your scores are going to be counted in the final merit list.
The question regarding will the exam be held in a center or even do it at home? It's the TISNET exam is happening at the center on 26th of February, and it's not a home-based exam; it's center-based. So be mindful of that. Questions regarding when will the notification be out for stage 2? Right now, we can't really comment on that, but rest assured is that the stage 2 is not happening simultaneously with the stage 1, so you will get some time in between to prepare, whether it's a TISMAT or there's any other evaluation process. So right now only TISNET is what we can tell you about.
See, what I would suggest for people who are asking about stage 2, and because there's no official notification, what you can work on is like you can try some impromptu speaking skills, and also you can try some like writing articles, because these can be like useful in later stages.
The questions regarding the interview and everything. So we will be addressing these questions later part when TISNET is over, and we will be coming up with multiple initiatives and sessions to be able to help you better be prepared for the interview, etc. So do not worry about that in terms of interview and the subsequent stages that will be there. So keep your questions anything related to TISNET right now, so that will be better. There's a question that if someone is not Facebook, how can they access the Quiztopia initiative? We also post the same Quiztopia on Pagal Guy also every day. So if you have an account on Pagal Guy, so you can definitely check out our page. The link is there in front of you. So we also post our Quiztopia on that handle. So you can refer to the Pagal Guy site. Are you encountering any new question, Ipshit? Otherwise, we can wrap it up in another 5 minutes.
Yes, for people who have interview specific questions, please keep them to a later date. The ARC will stay connected with you. You can follow their official handles, and you can post your questions there, or we'll definitely have more sessions before the interview stage. See, as of now, like we have had our internship placements, and we haven't observed any effect of COVID on our placements. So rest assured, it won't affect anything, except the medium of your classes. That has to be there. Like, yeah. So quickly, if somebody has any other questions, you can post them. Srinjoy, you asked about ARC reports. Please don't do these. You will only waste time. No UPSC specific stuff needed.
Muskan, I think it's totally your choice. If you want to write TISNET after 1 year of experience, you can do that. If you want to give it right away, then also it's not that that any sort of profile, really helps you in cracking TISNET or the interview. So I don't think there's any special advantage that you will have either way. So yeah.
See, these things only come into play in the interview stage, and it's basically a test of your personality, and your personality is a component. Your knowledge is a crucial component of your personality. Experience and all that you can make up. That's not needed. It's good to have experience, but that's not needed. We have freshers in our batch as well.
So definitely all these internships and work ex, they add value to your profile, etc.
Yes.
But it's not that it's any sort of compulsory, or it is an imperative that if you have it, that you will be the perfect candidate. So it's not that so that way you have to be prudent about your choices that you want to make.
See, the point of it all, what Ananya and I are talking about is like, if you don't have these things as of now, you should not get discouraged like I won't be able to crack the interview, so why I should work hard for testnet. Don't think in those lines. It absolutely has no relation to your cracking the interview. Take my word, you will do very well in the interview if whatever you have written in your form, you can like present a similar personality, so you can do very well in the interview. Don't think like I don't have an experience or I have nothing, I've done nothing, no internships related to HR, so it will be very difficult for me to crack the this interview, this HRM interview. It's nothing like that. And just focus on testnet as of now.
So Praveen has this question that whether TISNET marks are going to be calculated in the final and whether there will be any weightage. So right now we do not have a confirmation on the same, that if there will be any weightage of your TISNET score um, in your final calculation of the marks. But so you have to keep checking the website and be updated with respect to if any notification comes out with respect to that. We can't talk about other courses.
Yeah, for people who are asking about other courses, what they can do is they go to the website and they can read the course content. So I think, or they can talk to people who are already studying in the course.
We'll be definitely addressing all your interview related doubts once TISNET is over. We already have planned webinars and sessions to tackle and to help you once you qualify your TISNET. So be assured on that.
Rajeshwari, we'll have another session for the interview when those stages come close. Praveen, yes, your TISNET marks will be counted in your final merit list. There's a certain percentage.
With respect to suggestions for working professionals regarding the study plan, I suggest that even I was a working professional, and I understand that you're not able to devote all your preparation time for TISNET like throughout the day, but you need to have a schedule in place wherein you have to plan, that you have to cover all topics before your exam. So plan a schedule properly so as to be able to cover everything.
I think we're done with the questions. Like, shall we wait for 2 more minutes if anybody else wants to ask?
Yeah, I think I've already made it clear, as in that that we do not really have any information on with respect to what is the weightage for each stage, because that has not been officially released. So please keep checking the website with respect to what weightage will you have with respect to each of your exams. So,
see, people like, how's that relevant for you for now? Like, just keep in mind, the more you score in TISNET, the more it will help you in later stages. Don't confuse yourself with a lot of information.
all right, I think we are good to go and we can wrap up this session. If anyone who's missed out on about our various links for our social media channels, so please take a screenshot right now so that you know where you have to go to address your queries subsequently, and you can easily reach out to us to address your queries. All right, so thank you so much, everyone. It was great to have you and see this enthusiastic participation. And we wish you all the best for your exams. And do reach out to us in case of any confusion or query, because we've been aspirants ourselves and we know that journey of the struggle of writing exams and then making it to a college eventually. So feel free to mail us or approach us on our social media handles, and we'll be happy to address your queries. And thank you so much for being so participative in our session and raising all your queries freely right now.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
All
you
the
so
best.
much. We are closing the session.